The Dead Sea Scrolls were not meant to be found. They weren't hidden for future discovery. They weren't preserved for history. They were sealed away, stored in caves near the Dead Sea, protected from time, moisture, and attention, left behind by a community that believed the world around them had gone wrong. When they were discovered in the mid-20th century, scholars immediately understood their importance, not because they contradicted the Bible, but because they revealed how many versions of belief once existed. Before anything was finalized, the Dead Sea Scrolls date from roughly the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE, placing them centuries before the biblical canon was formally established, and that timing matters. Because canon does not form at the beginning of belief, canon forms at the end of the debate. The scrolls include copies of familiar texts, versions of Isaiah, Psalms, Deuteronomy. However, they also include writings that never became part of Scripture, community rules, interpretations, apocalyptic visions, commentaries that reflect belief in motion, not belief settled. They preserve a worldview where good and evil are not abstract ideas, but forces actively shaping history. The community behind the scrolls believed humanity was living inside an unfolding conflict between what they called the sons of light and the sons of darkness, not as a metaphor, but as a structure. They believed history itself was moving toward resolution, and that their community had been given insight into that process. This is not the theology that later canon settles on. As religious authority consolidated, belief narrowed. Interpretation stabilized, uncertainty became dangerous. The scrolls capture a moment before that narrowing, a time when belief had not yet been standardized, and that explains why some ideas did not survive. Canon requires agreement, but early belief did not have a consensus. Different communities held different expectations, different timelines, different understandings of divine authority. Some believed the revelation was ongoing. Others believed it had already closed. Some expected a single messianic figure. Others expected multiple messiahs. Some believed angels actively shaped human history. These differences were not resolved by discovery. They were resolved by decision. When religious authority became centralized, certain ideas were preserved not only for truth, but for stability. Canon favors clarity, unity, teachings that can be taught, repeated, and enforced. Texts that introduce too much ambiguity do not survive that process easily. The Dead Sea Scrolls are full of ambiguity. They speak openly of divine counsels, of predestination, of hidden knowledge revealed only to the faithful. They blur the line between human choice and cosmic design, and that kind of worldview is difficult to govern. This does not mean the scrolls were excluded because they were false. It means they represent paths of belief that did not become dominant. History remembers the traditions that prevailed. The scrolls remind us there were alternatives. They show us what belief looked like before it was finalized, before doctrine hardened, before questions were sealed. And that raises a question the scrolls themselves never answer. Were these teachings excluded because they were wrong, or because they kept too many questions open? If belief once had multiple paths, what determined which one survived? And if knowledge was narrowed to preserve unity, what else might have been left behind for the same reason?